Beardos, weirdos, balls of goals, how are we all doing? This is a video, it's not a debunking video, it's a response to a debunking video being responded to. I'll just show you because there's holes in all of this.
We're done before, and I just want to come on here to have a little bit of a chat with everybody about something people have been commenting about me, DMing me, spreading around the internet, essentially about a video that was recently posted of us.
Please do not engage with debunkers or leave any rude negative comments on their channels. I appreciate that. I appreciate the not leaving rude or negative comments part. It's something I do every video. But please do not engage with debunkers. What? Are you scared of the truth coming out? Or is this just something, you know? Right, Paranormal Files is one of the fakest groups ever, just like the rest of the fakers out there crying laughing face, and then there's my face with a nice heart next to it because I like the comment. If somebody wants to if somebody takes the time to comment on my video, even if they're insulting me, most of the time they get a heart, unless it's really bad. Now, to highlight this is this whole thing that the community is toxic. Do you know why people are so angry at fakers? It's because you're giving them false hope and then destroying that false hope every time you're caught. Because despite what's worded in this video, I didn't go after Colin. I didn't go after the Paranormal Files. I was sent numerous emails, Facebook messages, Twitter inboxes and tweets saying, hey, you need to go and look at Overnight because the table tipping is fake. That's what I did. I didn't know that it was Connor that everyone was looking at until I looked at it. I didn't even know who Connor was or what relation he was to you. So this is a bending of the narrative again. And this is why people will say you're one of the fakest of the fakes out there. You work with people that have been caught time and time and time again. I bring out one video on you, and you do this whole world's smallest violin, playing all for me, feel sorry for me, blah, 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 blah. And you do it in this, but you omit something, and that has pissed me off, and we'll get to that.
Investigating the location that we're at tonight, the Ancient Ram Inn. Now, this whole thing revolves around table tipping.
This comment, he's trying so hard to rock the table, I'm inclined to think he wants to be caught and booted out because he's exhausted from all the faking he has to do, probably getting himself RSI. It's not toxic. These are people's thoughts on a channel that keeps getting called out for fakery. There's no other way to put it. As soon as I mention the Paranormal Files, the first thing people say is, do you mean them with the fake Estes method? I've never watched your Estes method because I think the method is crap. Tried it once, it was a load of shit. That's not debunkers' opinions. That's not debunkers pushing that narrative out there. That is people that watch you. And they highlight it to us, like what was done with Overnight's video.
To kind of cue you guys in, table tipping is an antiquated investigation method. It's a method that obviously a lot of people don't believe in. It's somewhat similar to a Ouija board where you put your hands on a table, the spirit or energy is supposedly able to move the table around.
Or it's the ideomotor effect every time, because yes, I had a really bad experience with a Ouija board when I was younger, but the last year I have used them numerous times at numerous locations, and when me and people I work with closely use the Ouija board, the planchette doesn't move. Ever. One of the times we used the Ouija board planchette was outdoors at a reportedly haunted location where we were all shivering and freezing, and the planchette still didn't move.
And I want to state this outright. I've seen people comparing Connor and I to Cody and Satori, saying tons of different terrible things about us that...
You can see him making the rocking chair on the table move with his fingers. That was a compression issue. The chair moving was leaving like a visual trail, and it looked like his hand was moving it. It wasn't, because I looked at that.
We're using tape.
But that's not toxic. Thank you so much for covering this. I posted my thoughts on the Overnight channel when I initially watched the video. I agree 100%. Connor's fakery in this video is so blatant and egregious. They can argue someone's arm movements, angles, lights, but the movement of the arms combined with the shit-eating grin over the table to Colin equals, look at the shenanigans I'm up to right now. And a lot of people are saying the look that Colin gave back was fucking stop it right now. Watch it again, because at one point it looks like Colin mouths the words, is that you? And Connor grins and goes, no. In my opinion, can't prove it, so I never included it in the original video.
Table tipping to con people, and this was the very first time we ever did table tipping. I can ask any single one of you guys who watch my videos if you've ever seen me do table tipping before, ever in a video. I've been doing this for 10 years. Anybody from the very beginning, if you've ever seen me doing table tipping, it's gonna be a no, because it was our very first time.
It doesn't matter if it's your first time or your last time. When somebody's arm is clearly pushing that table, the first time or the last time or 100 times, that one time is enough. And that's what his arm was doing.
As you guys are going to see in the Ancient Ram video, on the night that we investigated the location, we weren't even planning on doing this table tipping. During our interview, our almost 2-hour-long interview with Caroline, the owner of the house, and our tour guide, Chris, they were sharing stories with us of extreme paranormal activity and honestly wild stories of table tipping sessions they had done in the Ancient Ram at the table that we were literally standing by or sitting at. And so obviously this goes back to me. Whenever I hear of something new that I can try during an investigation, when I hear of something that I've never done before, I'm always trying to keep my mind open, because obviously when it comes to table tipping, we're not insinuating that a ghost is literally sitting there rocking the table up and down. But it's interesting to me. And that
it would have been interested in the 1800s when this first started, but if somebody says to you, hey, this is this method, it is cool, do you want to try it? Maybe do a little bit of history. Have a look into it before you commit, because this was proved fraudulent in the 1800s. That means that for hundreds of years now, this is known to be fake, and you did it anyway. That's on you, not me.
That's, I have an open mind, and the paranormal is all about having an open mind and being really curious about what happens when you die. So
I get the curious. I get being curious about if you die. I have my own reasons as to why I investigate and why I debunk. But there are certain things out there that are proved to be fake. I have done table tipping. I have seen table tipping. People have been like, watch this video. And I'm like, yep, look at that thumb hook there, etc. And I've done it to people's faces. I have never, ever seen convincing table tipping. Actually, that's a lie. I once saw Kenny Biddle do table tipping in his own house. Kenny Biddle's house isn't haunted. But the table tipping was fantastic. The table was dancing around his house. Because it's so easily manipulated, which is why it should have no place in paranormal investigations. But what you're doing isn't paranormal investigating. You're making horror movies.
So when it comes to table tipping, of course, when I'm hearing stories from the woman who owns the place and the tour guide, she even told us that the table tipped all the way up the stairs.
And I have seen that happen. And it's always somebody hooking their thumb. Every time.
In the house. Of course I'm going to say, well, that's crazy. I've never done this. Let's try it out. Yeah, this was our first time ever doing table tipping. We're not going to be doing it again because this whole thing has just been mind-numbing and just kind of painful for me. Our experiment has spilled over and caused an absolute ton of negativity in my life. People making dedicated videos, calling me fake, saying this is 100% proof that I'm fake.
Yeah. I watched that video. And I didn't say that you were fake. I said that the guy with you is fake. But at the time, I didn't know he was with you. I didn't know if he was part of Elton's crew or not. I was unsure because he shaved off the slick daddy moustache. This argument is kind of nil and void here. This is pulling on heartstrings. You got the sad piano music going on in the background. So has What's-His-Face from Paranormal Files stopped faking? Because I remember he was a huge faker, which is why after 2 videos, I decided never to watch him again. This isn't because of anything the debunkers have done. This is people that have watched your channel and gone, this is full of shit. Don't blame us for that. That's on you.
Thousands of comments, people commenting on my channel, DMs, all based on the video that Elton posted of us doing this table tipping. So there are a few things I would like to highlight about that video. Now, I know Connor. He's my brother-in-law. I trust him with my life.
You shouldn't, because he was pushing that table. And from what people are telling me, the guy is always questionable in everything. He's always getting scratched. It's always him. And if you can't see that, then you're in on it. And that's where my problem is now, because you can see it. There's no two ways about it. And you were making these sad piano music videos in response. You're defending a faker that is working for your team. You haven't questioned it. You haven't looked at anyone else's point of view. It is straight up, I'm defending this guy. And that's why I can no longer defend you or take a nice approach to you. Because to call me a liar to defend your brother-in-law's bullshit, after the support I gave you, I wonder if you mentioned the support I gave you in this, because I doubt it.
He was not doing anything to that table.
Yes, he was.
Willingly manipulate it.
Yes,
it
he was.
It may look like his arm was moving in the footage, and that's honestly because it was. Everybody's hands and arms were moving. But what a lot of people don't think about when they view that footage, first of all, we're going to just talk about that before I show you the proof. He's the only one in the group wearing a short sleeve shirt, so you can see his entire forearms.
And that's how he was caught. It's because he was the one with a short sleeve t-shirt on, sat closest to the camera. This is the thing. Elton put that video out, whoever edited that video put that video out, and assumed that everyone was too stupid to see it. The debunkers weren't the initial people to call it out for what it was Overnight's fans. Overnight's fans came to me because I'm kind of known as the debunker.
His biceps and his hands. Everybody else, if you actually look at that footage, everybody else is wearing long sleeves, and on top of that, dark long sleeves, including myself. That's just one point down for Connor right away. People who want to see something wrong with the video are going to be drawn right to Connor's arms. Second of all, yeah, Connor's hands and arms are moving. I'm going to agree with everybody, but that's because the table was moving. So
no. And you've watched my video, Colin, and you will have seen that I say there's his arm flexing. There is a muscle activating. The arm pushes as the table moves, as in he's pushing the table. It can't be argued with. This isn't idiomotor effect. This is idiot effect. The guy was pushing the table. There's no two ways about it.
So to understand table tipping, it's literally what it sounds like. The table moves back and forth like that. So to all these people who have been telling me that everybody's hands should be completely still, I'm just wondering what you're expecting out of putting your hands on a moving table.
You put your hand on the table should, if the table is able to move just from your energy, the table should slide against your hand. You shouldn't have to rock your hand with it. Your hand, whether it's this way or this way, should stay stationary. The table does this, your hand should have very, very little movement, okay? You may start to move a little bit, but if the table is rocking itself because of energy, it'll move the opposite way to your hand. Connor was doing this. Not every push was as violent, but there were a few pushes that were exaggerated. He pushed the table.
I replicated the experiment at home with Courtney and Connor. We put our hands on a table, exactly like Connor had them in the video, and moved it up and down. And his hands and arms, mine too, were moving. And that...
Is your house haunted? Because if your house isn't haunted and you did table tipping anyway, it's a pointless exercise. The table shouldn't have moved. If it did move, then clearly it's you guys moving it, not anything paranormal. It's a stupid experiment, unless your house is haunted. But then... one of the people sat at that table is the person that was accused of fakery. So take that person away from there, get new people in that were not involved, and then see what happens. But no, you've used the same guy. So your experiment, or the way that you tried to prove that I'm wrong, is inherently flawed.
Kind of goes into another point I want to make. So in Elton's video, that was our second time ever doing table tipping. Our first time was only a couple hours earlier with the tour guide Chris and the owner of the location, Caroline. Now, we didn't get like some seminar training on how to do table tipping. This was not like a sit down, very thorough, discussion of how to...
There doesn't need to be. Put your hands on the table and hopefully it'll move. Job fucking done. Which way you put your hands, it doesn't matter to me, because either way, you're able to fake it. Putting your hands this way up is supposed to alleviate that, but again, that part, you can get a grip on the table.
Table tip, I think the instructions are in the video that we got. Literally, just put your hands on the table and just let it go. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, there was no instruction for us on how to place our hands.
If the table I was using right now, this instant, wasn't such a heavy-duty desk with big, motorized legs on it and a heavy tabletop, I could do exactly what you guys are doing. I could probably do it right now. I mean, is my camera wobbling? Yeah. Look how little effort I'm putting in there. On a desk with a PC on it, three monitor mounts, 2 big key lights, all the shit that's all over my desk, Alexas, control pads, and the weight of this thing is incredible. And with very minuscule movements, my camera is shaking. But look, that muscle has to activate. If I'm just leaning my hand on there and the table is moving anyway because somebody else or a spirit is pushing it, my hand should be doing this. Do you see a muscle activating there? Absolutely not.
how to place our arms, anything really. It was just put your hands on the table and just let it tip. In my opinion, what ended up happening is Conor might have placed his hands in a weird position. I mean, you just look at the footage of especially Elton's video, his hands are in a distinctly different position than ours. And I think that just the way that he was sitting was making his arms and hands move more and be more animated than everybody else's there.
Bullshit. His hands were placed in that way, different to everyone else's, to move the table, not because the table was moving. I don't know how you can not see that.
Once again, I know the people who are watching my videos are going to know that we wouldn't do something like that, but this is just for the people who have...
Colin's replying to comments on here, but not directly responding to what's been found in the video. Interesting. Have you seen a trollish, evil, nasty, threatening comment yet on my channel? Because that's what's being claimed.
Been DMing me and my family and, you know, everybody I love. Just really terrible things.
This. Now, he's blurred out my name there to make sure I don't get in any shit, and I appreciate that. But the reason that Patrick is being called an ogre is because how do you know that this person that's commented hasn't lost a loved one and tried to communicate with them, and some idiot has told them the table tipping is the way to do it, and then their hopes and dreams are smashed because they've seen your brother-in-law's arm move? They're not calling him an ogre because of the way he looks necessarily. Maybe they are, but that's not my fault. Maybe they call him an ogre because it's ruined something for them. Ruined your channel for them. Maybe. But it's far easier to shift the blame onto me, I guess.
About this entire thing when it was just an experiment. Also, in Elton's video, that camera is literally directly on Conor and I, straight on from the side. And I don't know if you noticed, but in his edit, there's barely any footage of Elton, and there's barely any footage of Ginger, his wife, or Jerry, the other guy that was there, anybody else. It's really just focused on Conor and I, which is an editing choice that Elton and his team made, but it also puts all the attention on what Conor and I are doing, and it doesn't show the reality of everybody else.
Yes, it does, because you could clearly see everyone. Nobody else's arms were moving. You were sat directly opposite Conor. And if that's the way your hands move because of the table tipping, your arms should have been moving as violently or as animated as his, or as over-exaggerated as his. They weren't. It's got nothing to do with having a t-shirt on or a jumper on or a hoodie or whatever, or a stab vest. It's got nothing to do with that. It has got to do with his muscle activating and him clearly shoving that table.
Really, you can't see everybody else's hands and arms moving, but in fact, when you look through the video that Elton released, and you see the clip of Elton sitting there, you can clearly see that his hands and arms are moving.
Yeah, nobody questioned that. It was the more forceful pushing movement that Conor was doing
with the table, just like everyone else's. Like I said, in my opinion, it's some sort of visual pareidolia where people are thinking really badly they want to see Conor and I fake something,
and you're wrong, because I didn't know Conor was anything to do with you or your channel while I'm watching it. I wasn't sure who the hell he belonged to, who he was. I didn't even know his name. My comment section told me who it was, Colin, and you've read the comment section because you keep posting my comment section. Why haven't you said that? Why haven't you said in this at any point so far, Beardo didn't know who Conor was? This is a twisting of the narrative, and this is why I cannot be asked to respond to your email, because you're defending bullshit with a twisted narrative, and I don't like it.
They want to, have a gotcha moment, so they're seeing him move, and they think that it's him pushing, when in my mind and Conor's mind, everybody else's mind, it's just the table moving by itself.
Now, in my mind, in Conor's mind, in Elton's mind, Overnight we've been caught faking numerous times by numerous different debunkers, so we cannot take him as a credible witness. Conor is the one that is accused of pushing that table. We cannot take him as a credible witness. You are defending what is clearly him pushing that table. We cannot take you as a credible witness.
Which is then moving Conor's arms. So that's what brings me to, I like to back up my claims with evidence. I've never spoken about something like this before. I've had tons of people lie about me online. Tons of people spread really vicious rumors that have gotten back to me. Stuff that's just very blatantly false and untrue. Things that have been said about me. And I usually stay quiet about that because I prefer not to buy into negativity, because it only brings you back negativity. And I'm focused on creating amazing content, traveling, being married to my best friend, hanging out, living a wholesome, positive life, especially since getting sober. But with this whole thing, I felt like this really needed to be corrected. And I'll say one thing real quick. When it comes to debunking, I am 100% on board for debunkers. I'm friends with a lot of people that are in that community. I'm not mad. For example, if somebody sees something in my video and says, oh,
before you go down this road, how come you've posted and said about all of this negativity, showing the negative comments and all the rest of it, yet you have not once mentioned the conversations we've had where I was supportive of you, your issues with alcohol, your battles with alcohol, that I supported that I outrightly refused when tons of people asking me to do debunks on you. I outright refused because of what was going on in your real life. And you have completely omitted that just to, in my opinion, make me look bad and to make people feel sorry for you, hence the sad piano music. I'm sorry, Colin, but this is why I'm pissed at you. Before you brought this video out, it's narrative game playing, and I don't fucking like it. Connor was pushing that table, and you are making me out to be the bad guy, and you're putting out this narrative that the debunkers are not so great, but then being like, oh, I support the debunkers, I like the debunkers, I'm friends with the debunkers. Fair enough, but I questioned your REMPod activity when there was a thunderstorm going on. You didn't address that. You addressed other stuff in the video. You skirted around that. Enough. You haven't come out since and said we will not be using REM pods in thunderstorms anymore because Beardo has told us, hey, that's what's setting those REM pods off. Every time there's a clap of thunder, your REM pod's going off. You didn't say that. You didn't do that. So what you've just said there isn't true.
oh, that was probably a false positive. I look at it and go, oh shit, yeah, that probably was. And then we change what we do. Or
not in my experience with you, Colin. Whilst you have asked me some fantastic questions, whilst you have been very respectful in emails, as I have with you, any criticism or anything that I have pointed out that you could do better, you've ignored for the most part. Any criticism that I've levelled at the way you do things, it's been ignored. This statement isn't correct.
Or somebody, points out we're using something incorrectly, I'm the first person that's going to go and actually message somebody and say, hey, thank you for pointing that out. It was a mistake, I guess.
Do you know the only one that's done that? Oh, sorry, there's only 2 people that have done that without arguing and being bitches about it. 2. Out of all of the people I've debunked, 2 have said, you've got a point. Those 2 teams are... I'm very sorry, I can't remember the channel name. The guys that were using the DR60, and I'm like, it's false positives, you're turning your head, all the rest of it. They actually reached out to me pleasantly and were like, the next 2 or 3 videos we'll have the DR60. We are not ignoring you, but after that we're going to move on to different devices because we've taken on board what you've said. Fair play to that team. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of them. The other team is Paranormal Quest. Paranormal Quest are the guys that debunked the Dead Bell. Paranormal Quest are the guys that have debunked the thunderstorms setting off REM pods. Paranormal Quest have emailed me numerous times about equipment. They've even sent me equipment. Hey, if you think this is dog shit, have it. Take it apart. Look at it. Educate yourself. Absolutely fine. And they do not kick off if I say that device is a load of shite. For example, I say I don't like apps. Teams then will do things like still use apps, but say we don't believe this is proof. This is to help us in our investigation, to call out. Maybe we can get a positive something to go off from this app. Then I got no issue with it. I have the issue when people's apps say the word demon or their name because certain channels of a certain size are allowed to program their own names into things. That happens, and then your thumbnail is a demon said my name. No, it didn't. A phone app did.
And we're not going to do that again. But my issue, and I've tweeted about this and I've talked about this, is that I don't feel a lot of times like it's debunking with a positive purpose to try and help paranormal investigators. I feel like it's just trying to capture this gotcha moment where people can say that you're fake and then call you names. And
not true. There is an element of gotcha because... take, for example, the Foreman brothers. I was a believer in them. I thought they were doing good for people. I had their backs. Me and Mythos had private conversations about them to the point where I said to Mythos, if I reach out to the Foreman brothers and they prove you incorrect, will you apologise? And Mythos didn't say, who the fuck do you think you are? Bollocks to you, you're picking on me. Mythos went, yeah, fair enough. If they reach out to you, show you raw footage and prove I'm wrong, I will issue an apology and I will take the video down. Guess what happened? The Foreman brothers accused me of bullying for asking a question. I do what I do so people stop looking at the paranormal community like they're a bunch of numbskulls, idiots, and believers in fairies. That's the be-all and end-all. Because yes, I believe. But I don't believe that teams can go to every location and find something in every location. If a team is going to locations and on a weekly basis can put out a video containing paranormal activity, that team is lying. That team is faking. Another thing that people are doing is there will be something happen in a video. Oh, that's spooky. And then right at the end of the video, they'll debunk it and be like, oh, yeah, we realized what that was. Something fell over. It was natural. But when things are falling over and it's very natural in every video, you got to question why things are falling over. Because I have been to numerous abandoned and paid locations. Shit just doesn't fall over for me on a weekly basis. It's as simple as that.
And I've said this before, but we've gotten death threats. We've gotten people threatened, I think 2 weeks ago. My pets and my wife.
Please don't put this on me or onto the debunking community, because we all say don't go leaving negative comments. Do not go leaving harsh comments on their channels, things of that nature. And this is a trick that's been done. The internet can be a shit horrible place. People will threaten people, will call people names. It doesn't necessarily mean they came from us. I have removed people from this community for going into other channels and leaving negative, nasty, toxic comments. I removed a moderator from my channel for doing just that. For going to a channel and speaking out and then it coming back to me like, hey, this is your community. And I'm like, it's fucking not. It's being dealt with. They've been removed. It started World War III in my community because this person was well liked. I won't stand for it. I've never stood for it. But again, you're missing something here. Colin is fully aware of how many death threats I get because it's in the emails. I have had people dox me in my comment sections. I have had people actively trying to dox me. I have had people that you probably haven't seen make videos about me and how I bully women and things like that. All based on complete and utter lies. Just people trying to get one up on me because their content is bullshit. I had somebody threaten to cut my ears off. I had somebody threaten to turn up at 30 East Drive when I was there and to fight me. And do you know what I did? At the designated time for the fight, I went outside to confront them. They didn't turn up. I have had people threaten me. I have had people threaten my wife. I have had people threaten my income. I had one guy tell me that he could see the place in which I worked from across the estuary, and he was coming for me. The slight problem, the place where I worked was so far inside the city, you couldn't see the River Severn. You couldn't see the sea. The guy was talking out of his ass, and I mocked him back. He hasn't bothered again since. The reason I'm highlighting all that is, it doesn't matter if you're a paranormal channel, a ufologist, a cryptozoologist, Nana's knitting with shreddies, no matter what your channel is, there will be death threats, there will be horrible comments. It doesn't necessarily mean it's come from one community or another, it's just shit people. Stop blaming debunkers for shit people.
In a DM. I've had just tons of very, very negative comments and people who've never met me and don't know anything about me, jumping to conclusions based off of a single video or tweet that they'll see about me.
But you have to take responsibility that some of those comments, some of those tweets have come from your content. People are spotting things for themselves. And if you can't take that on board and you're just shifting the blame, then you're no different to every other faker I've gone up against. And genuinely, I hoped you were different, Colin. You, in private conversations with me, have been a very, very nice guy. You're one of the nicest of the people out there. Kalani Ghost Hunter is another one. My interactions with Kalani have been brilliant. He comes across as a very nice guy. Friends of mine don't like him and don't like you. I don't let that change my opinion on you. But you defending fakery is where any sort of friendship we have is going to end.
Which is just absurd in my mind. Whenever you say anything in this world and you say this is 100% proof, whether it's paranormal or it's fake, debunked, you should doubt that statement. Now, I don't use those terms lightly. I don't know if you guys have ever actually paid attention to my videos and noticed how I title things. I always say unexplainable because it's just maybe if it's a noise that we hear.
The most haunted forest in England. Horrifying paranormal. Attacked by a sex demon. They might kill me for what I'm about to expose. Exposing the evil of Bohemian Grove. We found the Zodiac Killer. We did a demonic ritual. Don't try this at home. Horrifying paranormal activity. Grandma's here, the most emotional ghost hunt on YouTube. The Murder House, the most disturbing video we've ever filmed. Your titles, just at a quick glance, do not highlight what you have just said. At all. Paranormal Activity caught. Skinwalkers. Demonic attack caught on camera. You got a 666 on his arm there. And what he showed looked like an old scar. Something I was going to react to before. Did I bring a video out about that? I think I did. Demon caught on camera. Horrifying Paranormal Activity. None of your titles, none of them, are what you have just claimed in your video, Colin. Now, either you've confused yourself a little bit there somehow, or you're lying to make me look bad. And that is where the respect between us stops.
Or it's something else that happens. I always put unexplainable because I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to say it's like a ghost.
No, you said in your title a demon attacked you. Burnt a 666 into your friend's arm. No, it didn't. He had what looked like an old scar. And then your community come over to my channel and say he's covered in scars because he somehow survived a plane crash. I'm glad he survived that plane crash, but he's fake as fuck.
Doing this, but it's unexplainable because we have no explanation. Like, I've sat there in the moment and in the edit, because I edit all my own videos still, and I've thought, what could explain this? And I still get, no answer to it. So that's why I try to, tell people, you guys can make up your own minds. I'm doing this ghost hunting and paranormal investigating. At first it was because, I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 12. So I've always felt like I was going to die early. That always scared me. I grew up in a haunted house. I've made videos about it. None of that was filmed. That was all just real life experiences. And I always wanted to be a horror film director, but when I
In my opinion, that's exactly what you are.
was in high school, I got invited by my high school's newspaper to make a video, or actually it was film an investigation at my haunted high school for the school newspaper in October. And that turned into the very first episode of Paranormal Files. And I've just been, heading down this path for years now, doing my own thing. And it's been incredible. I've met thousands of some of the best people you can possibly meet. I've made so many friends, so many...
This sad piano music, whilst you're fucking blatantly lying as far as I'm concerned, is making me want to vomit. This is the most controlling thing I've ever seen, and genuinely, I expected better of you. Shame on me. You know the saying, fool me once, never again.
Connections. It's just really, really bizarre to have people online, calling you names, insulting everything from your weight to the way you look, the way you dress.
Colin, young lad, it isn't just you. I get comments about my weight all the time. If we were to ever meet, you could probably stand behind me and not get seen. You're throwing all this out like it's just you and just the fakers. No, the debunkers get it. The debunkers get it really, really hard as well. This isn't soft piano music, woe is me bullshit. No, I've got to take that on the chin, as have you. You've got to have a thick skin to do this.
People saying homophobic things, really, really bizarrely just graphic stuff about...
If in 2024 you think it's okay to leave homophobic comments, I suggest you get back in the sea. You haven't fully developed as a human being. I got no time for it. I have friends from all walks of life. All of them. I have family from all walks of life. There is no place for racist, homophobic, any of the ists. There's no place for it. Those are the comments I remove.
About me, and they've never met you, and they really don't know anything about you. I mean, you guys know. I feel like if you watch my channel, you know a lot about me. But still, I just personally would never leave a negative comment on...
Even on videos where I am debunked, a term used very loosely, I always wish the creators well and have a laugh with them. And that is true. That is absolutely true. Colin is one of the people that behaves in a far better way than the rest of the bullshitters that are out there. But the term debunked isn't always loosely used with you, Colin.
Anybody's anything? That's, I think, a major problem with social media. I would never go hate on somebody's post. I would never hate on somebody's content. It's just really strange.
No, but you're twisting the narrative here, which is every bit as bad.
To have people that are so willing to express a hatred towards you. But that's all beside the point. Let's just get into this little part. So right now, I've got on my computer pulled up this clip from the Ancient Ram from tonight's video. So let's take a look. So right here, this is our table tipping session in full. So something I saw a lot of people say is that if you speed up the footage in Elton's video to 100 times speed, that's definite proof that Connor himself was the one rocking the table. Like I said before,
You speed anything up, it looks worse. You should be slowing things down to look for micro muscle movements and things like that. To speed it up just makes everything look ridiculous.
I can understand why people can see that and think, oh, his arm's moving, he must be rocking it. But let's take a look at this clip. As you can see, we're doing table tipping here. Our hands were in a different position. And I go 10 times through, the chair starts rocking. And do you notice anybody's hands, Connor and I's, moving?
No.
No.
So that undoes your complete argument from earlier that everybody's hands were moving.
That was one of the biggest arguments people said, is Connor
You've just undone your own argument.
was the one who started this whole thing, and he was...
See, now there, sped up, that looks like Colin's finger. I shouldn't have done that. It looks like he's moving the chair. He's not.
was the one who was,
Right,
fake.
that table is moving. Their arms are not, even at 100 times speed. So what does that tell you? His entire argument up until now, he has just debunked himself.
All of this encounter. But you can clearly see right here, in 10 times speed, like everybody was saying, our hands are not moving to push the table up and down.
No, but the gentleman up there is, but you've sped it up, so I can't 100% prove it. Now, you've sent me this in an email. You've sent me the raw footage of this in an email, which I appreciate, but you've asked me not to share it. Fair enough, I'm not going to do it. But in that footage, this guy is pushing the table, in my opinion. This guy's muscle is flexing, and Connor is watching him do it, and that's where Connor learned how to do it.
So that was something that I immediately noticed that just shows that in this session, specifically, also, Connor's hands weren't moving when the table started rocking.
Which undoes your entire argument that you have spent, 20 minutes putting out? You've just undone it. You stated in your own video 20 minutes ago, all of our arms were moving. And now you're saying, do our arms look like they're moving? No, they don't. And the table is barely moving. You've just undone everything you're calling. And if you can't see that, that means you're in on it.
So people can't say that Connor started that whole thing. Now, a huge point of contention in this entire thing is that people have said, obviously you can see Connor's hands moving, you can see his arms moving. I've said and this is one of the most egregious things. So many people said that my smirk towards Connor was disgusting. It exposes me for being a fraud. It exposes that Connor and I had some sort of little trick going, or a gimmick. Literally, because I looked at Connor and smiled at him during this session, which is an insane leap to me.
No. It's not an insane leap to say that that's not a spirit moving the table, that's not a spirit possessing the table, or any of this ridiculous claims about table tipping. You mouth the words to him at one point, is that you? And he laughs and says no, in my opinion. I left it out of the video because it's just an opinion. It's a fact he's pushing that table. I'm sorry.
And I just want people to step back and actually consider things before commenting them. It's a smile. It's like, that would be like...
The utmost respect to you, but Colin's not looking at him with anything but humour and approval. Colin is just as guilty. This isn't me. This is people forming their own opinions from watching your video. So why would people come at the debunkers or leave rude negative comments? Why would they? This is people that have watched the overnight footage and said, hey, that guy's cheating. That guy's faking. That's how I got put onto the videos. People emailing me, overnight fans emailing me, inboxing me on Facebook, inboxing me on Twitter. Hey, you need to look at this. My Discord messages. You need to look at this because somebody's pushing that table.
Like saying everybody in the paranormal.
And they were overnight
if you
fans.
Smile or glance at somebody during an investigation, everything is delegitimized due to that smile. In my mind, I was smiling at him because I don't understand what the hell table tipping was. And both of us were looking at each other like, what the hell is this?
How do you paranormal investigate for as many years as you have and not know what table tipping is? Anyone with a fucking passing interest in the paranormal knows what table tipping, Ouija boards, and seances are. They're the big three that started in the 1800s that have ultimately been disproved. And that's coming from a guy that had an experience with a Ouija board that I can't disprove. If I could go back in time and revisit it, as scary as it was, I would. But it wasn't a human interaction that caused what happened when I did a Ouija board. Nobody on that table made the glass spin up the right way, shoot across the room and burst him. Nobody could have created that, in my mind. Maybe there's a scientific thing behind it, like friction and the glass heated up. I don't think so.
It's more of an expression of shock. But if you really think that Connor and I would fake a psychic table tipping session directly in front of a camera. Keep in mind, there's 2 camera guys right by us, in front of 2 huge cameras, and then in the middle of it, look at each other and smirk and laugh about how we're pulling the wool over people's heads. I have a feeling that you just started off today, before you thought that thought, already not liking me, because in a rational person's mind, in my mind,
I mentioned about the smile. I did mention about the smile in my video. I didn't wake up in the morning and go, that Colin, he's a faker. I'm going to prove it today. I responded to requests from overnight fans. I do believe I said that in my video, and again, you've admitted that.
and that is just like impossible. It just would not happen. I care about the paranormal. I've done a lot for the paranormal and visited a ton of different places, and I'm really happy to be a part of this community. But if you're going to slow down my footage and say that me smiling and glancing at Connor is a definite 100% proof that we're faking something, like it's some big con that we're both involved in.
I didn't say the smile was 100% proof. I said the pushing with his left arm was 100% proof. You're twisting this again.
I really don't know what to tell you, because it just seems like you hate me more than you want a legitimate debunk. But let's go back to this. So all the comments said
99.9% of people comment on this don't hate you, Colin. They hate fake content. It's an insult to them. It's a cheap, nasty parlor trick that they don't like. That's not you being hated, that is the content. And people need to get the fuck away from this. I'm being victimized because people think I'm fake. No, your videos are being pulled apart, not the human being behind it. And I find that more disrespectful than any of it. That you have completely admitted how cool I have been with you to make me look like a fucking villain here. It's out of order. Completely out of order. I have never, ever said anything hateful about you or to you, Colin. Ever. I didn't even say anything hateful towards old table pusher over there. It didn't happen. So stop with this bullshit that the debunkers are hateful, the debunkers are horrible, and put your nipple away, Colin. I can see your nipple. It's rude. Yes, I'm joking. Calm down. That wasn't a hateful comment. Maybe you could put some sad piano music behind that and be like, Beardo teased my nipples. I mean, you're on about people calling you fat. Where? Your nipple pokes out further than your belly. Mine don't. I haven't seen my toes in 4 years.
that obviously the biggest thing is Connor's hands and arms were moving in that footage. Once again, I agree. It looks like it. But let's take a look now in this footage from our session earlier where Chris Howley, he's the paranormal investigator for the Ancient Ram. I don't think he's like the official guy. I don't know, but he was contacted when we set this whole thing up. He's been there many times. But just take a look at his arms and hands during this session. Do you see anything over here?
Yes.
Just look right there, guys.
Muscle movement, because he is pushing that table.
Look at him right here. Yes, his arms and hands are moving the exact same way that Connor's were in our
Yes, but yours and Connor's are not. This proves everything I said is correct. You have debunked yourself.
clip with Elton. And keep in mind, in this clip, Chris is sitting in the exact same spot that Connor was in, and he's also got a short sleeve shirt on. So his arms and everything are visible, just like Connor's.
Connor is wearing a short sleeve shirt, and you have just said in the clip before this that his arms are not moving. You've undone your every argument here, Colin. I don't know how you can't see it, which is why I'm starting to think, yeah, you're in on it.
To me, you can view that footage and say, yeah, you know, maybe I was, quick to judge this whole thing, and I'm not even trying to convince you if you're really convinced that this is
Look at his
100%
right arm,
fake.
that left
I'm not
arm
trying
there.
to sit here and change your mind, but it's like, you have to look at this footage.
He is pushing that table. He is doing exactly what Connor did later on in the night. And Connor is sat opposite him watching him do it. That's where this entire thing has come from. You have undone everything here. Absolutely everything.
And critically think, it is really weird that Chris's hands and arms are moving the exact same way as Connor's, and he's sitting in the same spot. So you can either think that, wow, that was actually a pretty interesting thing that Colin pointed out, or we can just go with the theory that Chris is faking this whole thing, Caroline, the owner's faking this whole thing.
Well, no, her arms weren't moving. You can't shift the blame onto her when her arms are not moving and she's not looking at his arms. Connor was.
Connor and I are both faking this whole thing. And then later on that night, with more cameras in front of us, Connor and I decided to fake this whole thing. Along with Elton, Ginger, Jerry, and their whole camera crew, we all were in on the faking, which is just false. That's just...
I don't believe that any of that is false. And in fact, you have just proved that everything I said is true.
I really don't feel like I need to defend myself here, but I just have to, because I see these people making comparisons saying that I'm Cody and Satori and that Connor and I are fake, and years of their life have been wasted because we're such bullshitters and, all of that.
And that is based off the evidence provided to them on the Overnight channel. These people you're kind of alluding to, these people are saying this because of me. These people were saying this anyway and then came to me with it. A fan of Overnight was like, this guy is pushing the table. And I watch it, and guess what? This guy is pushing the table. Your argument is all of our arms were moving. And then you show footage and say, look, our arms are not moving, but his is. This has done you no favours at all. None.
Based on this one video clip. So back in this footage, I just want to encourage people to look one more time. You can see Chris's hands right here moving exactly like Connor's were.
And his are the only ones doing it, like in... Oh.
And in this clip, this is the first time that I'm ever doing table tipping, ever, in my 10 years of doing this. And you can see my hands moving.
But look how slight it is.
Throughout the whole thing. And in this position, my hands are positioned a little more like Connor's were during Elton's video. Now, I just want to remind everybody, when we started this, they just said put your hands on the table. They didn't give us any instruction on exactly how. It was just palms up on the table. And I will point out, this is interesting. So if you go in and actually look at Caroline, the owner, her hands appear to be, like, just look at this. Her hands appear to be the only ones on the table that were not moving. That's because her hands were resting, like if this is the table, they were like this, barely touching, everyone else's were like this.
Which is, one way to do it. The way she was doing it leads to her not faking shit.
So there's so many variables here when you consider an experiment. People's hand positionings could have been different, and they were different, especially in Elton's clip. People were wearing different articles of clothing that were different levels of revealing.
Including stab vests.
Obviously, the table tips and leans in a certain direction, and it's more unstable in one direction than others. And yeah, there's just so much that went into this whole thing. And I just really hope that I've encouraged people, especially if you're someone who sits there and absolutely does not like me at all. Which is fine, I don't really care, but I hope that I've encouraged you to open your mind a little bit here, because I just feel like it's inauthentic, and I'm okay with the debunk as long as it's like a legitimate debunk of evidence and not just criticism and allegation, coming at me, saying that this is like the proof that's gonna destroy me. And people always say, oh, I hope everybody stops watching his channel and they're terrible, and Connor's, calling him names and me names. And it's just very odd to me. But
I didn't call you any names. I didn't call anyone any names. I showed proof of Connor pushing that table. You have just shown proof, as far as I'm concerned, that the other guy there is pushing that table and this lady is not in on it. You've undone every argument here, as far as I'm concerned. Now, you may have a different take on it. People at home, you may have a different take on it. Absolutely fine. But, this table tipping bullshit, and that's exactly what it is, was called bullshit in the 1900s, 1800s, whatever. I'm sure Harry Houdini pulled apart table tipping. And all of these hundreds of years later, this is an argument. And the argument is nil and void because there's a guy clearly pushing that table. Your arms were not moving. Connor's arms were not moving. This lady's arms haven't moved the entire time she's there. You've undone your every argument, and it's pissing me off that you've got this piano music. Feel sorry for me. Your heart should bleed for me. Look how toxic and nasty everyone is. Well, for pointing out that Connor was pushing the table. If pointing out fraudulent activity at a paranormal investigation is toxic, then slap my ass, call me a fat bastard. I'm toxic.
I wish those people the best, and I wish them well with their creative journeys. And like I said, I'm friends with some of those people, so they aren't the ones that bother me. They aren't. But to finish this thing out, Just this whole time, I want everybody to look. My hands are moving here. Chris Howley's hands are moving. Connor's hands are moving. And I can tell you 100% I was not moving that table. So if
You might not have been, but somebody there was.
I'm not moving, and that's what my hands look like. Chris, his hands look like that as well, and he's like a reputable paranormal investigator who's
That I've never heard of, that's based in the UK.
been to the Ram dozens, if not hundreds of times. That's all I'm really going to say about this.
If you go to a paranormal investigation and they bring somebody in that says this is a reputable paranormal investigator, and then they start table tipping, they are not a reputable paranormal investigator. They are doing parlor tricks for paying guests. No two ways about it. This isn't me just dismissing table tipping because Houdini may have debunked it 200 years ago. This is me dismissing table tipping because I have debunked it in person numerous times. I have seen footage that people stand by, and then I'm watching people hook a thumb, and then when I point it out, they're like, oh, no, I knew that lady. Unlucky, that lady is faking the table tipping. I have never, ever seen a table tipping session that convinces me that it's real. There are tricks people do where they'll put the table leg balanced slightly on their shoe and they'll lift their foot. They'll get the table to levitate with their feet. Obviously, that's not what's been done here, but that human interaction is what's causing that table to tip. It's a human interaction, nothing to do with the spirit world. Whilst you can see, we never claimed it was anything to do with the spirit world. You're calling this a wrong debunk or an unfair debunk and a toxic debunk, and it's not. It's fact. Connor was pushing that table, and prior to that, the video evidence you've just shown, that other guy that was a reputable paranormal investigator, he's not. He is not a reputable paranormal investigator by doing a trick that was debunked hundreds of years ago. Fact. You can't convince me any different. You can't convince anyone with an ounce of logic any different. All you've done here is highlight that I was right and you were wrong, and you are willing to defend your channel's reputation, and you're willing to defend a guy that works with you that has been caught out. And this video, your video, further highlights that he was caught out. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Please, for the love of whatever you believe in or anyone that you love, don't leave personal, horrible, nasty digs to Colin, to Connor, to any of them. This is important because what will happen now is if you guys start leaving comments saying, I don't know, fat or whatever, that is what will be taken into the next video with sad piano music. And the narrative gets twisted because of that. However, if you're annoyed at blatant fakery, if you're annoyed at liars, you are well within your right to sound off. Maybe don't call people ogres, but, you know, I am pissed at this channel because I believed, and this to me shows whatever. That's how we deal with it, not name calling, not mudslinging. However, I do find it a bit rich to say I respect the debunkers, I'm friends with the debunkers, and then call me a liar. I never called you a liar, Colin. I said your friend was bullshitting, and maybe you couldn't see it. My opinion on that has changed now, and this is why I couldn't respond to your email, because I was raging when you put out that post saying, I'm exposing next week, I've been lied about. Don't call me a liar. I am not a liar. If we look with logic, if we look with common sense, if we look with science, table tipping is debunked. It is not real. It has never been real. It is horse shit. It is hogwash. It's a parlor trick. And to defend that and defend the guy whose arm is definitely doing that, absolute bullshit. And then to label me toxic because of it, in itself, could be construed as toxic. I don't think having an argument with me is toxic. I don't think calling me out is toxic. It's the way people do it that can be toxic. You know, the Foreman brothers, they are toxic. You catch them blatantly faking it and they're like, oh, he's bullying me after he supported me for all these months. That's a toxic, nasty thing to do. That is changing that is trying to hit people with emotions and twist the narrative to make yourself look better and to make me look bad. That is quite toxic. And unfortunately, you spent a large portion of your 4-hour and 15-minute video doing exactly that. Whilst you didn't see me specifically being toxic, when you label my comment sections toxic, that's a reflection on me. That comment section is aggravated and annoyed because channels that they love, they enjoy, they watch are faking. Be all, end all. Much love to you all. Beardo out.